And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, I will be talking about Donovan Mitchell and his most recent contract extension with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I'm just going to bring up the article real quick and talk about, the details of this and what this could mean for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he recently signed a $150.3 million contract that includes a player option for the 2027-2028 NBA season. According to Woj, the agreement was confirmed by Mitchell, who posted the famous "I'm not effing leaving" clip on the Wolf of Wall Street on X, or on Twitter. But yes, the structure of the deal is notable because Mitchell was eligible to sign for up to 4 years and $207.8 million, but taking a 3-year extension with the player option will allow him to potentially hit the market when he is 30 years old. So, not a bad deal for Donovan Mitchell, and a little bit some extra details on the extension. His current contract for 2024 and 2025 has him making $34 million, right? Over $34 million, and he had a $37.1 million player option that is now replaced with year one of his new extension. So in 2025-2026, he's going to be making $46 million. Then in 2026-2027, he's going to be making $50 million, and then in 2027-2028, with his player option, he could make $53 million, which totals up to $150.3 million. Now, obviously, I'm rounding up those numbers because those aren't the exact numbers. Like, it's not exactly 46 million, it's not exactly 50 million, and it's not exactly 53 million, right? But it's more or less that's the deal. So why 3 years and not 4? Well, Donovan Mitchell will have 10 years of service in the 2027-2028 season, and a player with 10 years of service can sign or extend for 35% of the salary cap, and the projected max in 2027-2028 is $65.5 million a year. So he will be eligible to sign a 4-year extension in July 2026. So that is basically the idea of this deal, and just, the details surrounding this. He was previously under contract, as I mentioned earlier, with the player option, but now that he's extended, I'm just reading the article, he's just making more money. And I genuinely feel like, this was a smart move from him. This was his agent, Hall of Fame agent, without a doubt. And Cleveland had a lot of optimism that Mitchell would re-sign on a 4-year deal following the firing of J.B. Bickerstaff and the hiring of Kenny Atkinson. The optimism turned out to be warranted. Mitchell also gave something of a timeline on how he envisioned his contract decision playing out when he told reporters at Media Day ahead of the 2023-2024 season. According to this article, "I want it to be known that I still have the opportunity to sign an extension next summer," he said. "I don't think a lot of people understand that aspect." Mitchell expressed his focus was on winning a championship and that he was really excited about what we've got going here. "We could do something special. Ultimately, when the season is over, we'll get to that." So he obviously has hopes of winning a championship, whether it be for the Cavs. I guess he's going to find out whether or not he can do that. But here we go. We're going to bring up a little bit of Cavs drama. If you guys remember previously, Darius Garland said he was going to request a trade if Donovan Mitchell ended up signing the max. So now here's the question. Is that going to happen? Is Darius Garland going to follow through with what he said and request a trade? Is he going to want to not play with Donovan anymore? This, that, and the other. Are the Cavs going to abide by his wishes? Or are they going to be all right with it, and are they just going to run it back? Because that's sort of been the drama around this team. We have no idea whether or not Garland wants to re-sign. We have no idea whether or not they're going to mesh well, because quite frankly, all this drama going on in the offseason with this team, it doesn't really seem likely that Darius Garland wants to play with Donovan Mitchell for whatever reason. I can't really say exactly the reason, because I quite frankly have no idea what that reason could be, but there's a possibility that he might get traded. Now, there's also a huge possibility that the Cavs won't listen to Darius Garland wanting to get traded, because if you guys remember from a previous podcast that I did, there were reports saying that the Cavs wanted to run it back with Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jarrett Allen, and Evan Mobley, because quite frankly, Donovan was injured in the postseason, Jarrett Allen was also injured in the postseason, and Darius Garland didn't really get the opportunity to play with Donovan or Jarrett Allen, which hindered his performance. Granted, he was horrible in the postseason and played really bad in the elimination game, but that shouldn't really be the end-all, be-all for Darius Garland, in my opinion. However, with Jarrett Allen, in my opinion, as a Nets fan, I'm a little bit torn. I really like the Fro. I liked him in the regular season, but in the postseason, I'm sorry, but he is incredibly soft. Like, he is so soft in the postseason. I was appalled when I found out that Jarrett Allen could have taken some painkillers and potentially play in one of these postseason games. Now, this is kind of counterintuitive, because if you guys remember from a previous podcast that I did, I previously said, and I was defending Jarrett Allen because, maybe he didn't think he was going to be 100%, and maybe he didn't want to risk it. And I totally understand that side of the narrative, but as a guy who is adamant who is a Kobe Bryant fan, if you have the possibility to play in a game, you got to at least try it. I would have rather seen Jarrett Allen try to get into the game and be like, okay, this isn't going to work, and then sit out, as opposed to just sit out altogether. He would rather get a full recovery than take the painkillers, which I totally understand. I get it. I understand. But at the same time, I'm not a big fan of it. I genuinely, I'm not a big fan of it. Now, maybe my opinion slightly changed a little bit from when I first heard it, but it is incredibly disappointing because, quite frankly, it's like he didn't even want to play in the postseason. And he also is the exact same player that said the lights were too bright the year that the Cavs lost to the Knicks in the first round, which was 2 years ago, quite frankly. And with him saying the lights were too bright, it's basically him saying, oh my gosh, I was so scared to meet the moment. I was scared of the postseason. Oh no. That's essentially what was going on. And it's like, as a player, how are you scared of that big moment? I'm sorry, but as maybe I'm just speaking from, a fanatic's perspective, and it's really unfair to sort of judge exactly how they could be feeling in this specific moment or in that specific moment. And maybe it is unfair for me to say that, oh, well, I mean, you have no idea what he was feeling in this moment. You are being a big baby, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, I really feel like he should have tried. And the fact that he didn't try to even play in the postseason, in my opinion, just, added more to the notion that he is scared of that moment in the postseason. He is just terrified. And quite frankly, I'm sorry, but as a player, and as an organization, having a player that is scared to meet the moment is extremely detrimental to your team. Excuse me. It is extremely detrimental to your team. So, I'm not a big fan of re-signing with Jarrett Allen and, sticking with Jarrett Allen. Not re-signing with Jarrett Allen. Not a big fan of sticking with Jarrett Allen. I would much rather the Cavs, try to trade and get him out of there. Things of that nature. And quite frankly, I think they would be much better off without Jarrett Allen. And so we need to see exactly what's going to happen with Darius Garland, with the trades. Quite frankly, maybe they should include Jarrett Allen in the trades when they're talking about Darius Garland, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let me know in the comments, do you guys think Darius Garland is going to request a trade and play with a different team now that Donovan Mitchell has signed his extension, or do you think the Cavs are going to legitimately run it back? So with that, we are out of time for this fourth segment, so now we will go ahead and go into the fifth segment, which I alluded to before was going to be about Russ. So I'm going to talk about the possibility of Russ possibly joining the Denver Nuggets, as Nikola Jokic has expressed interest in that. So I will be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.